Mercury is retrograde from September 27th until October 18th. It goes retrograde 3 or 4 times per year, and each time it does so, it stays that way for approximately 3 weeks and becomes one of the most well-known astrological phenomena that people love to quote as an explanation for something that went wrong during that period of time. Because Mercury is the primary planet of verbal communication, it is true that if you pay attention, you'll notice communication breakdowns, so that something you say might be misunderstood or vice versa. Also, people forget or change their mind about appointments they've set up, and this can be anything from annoying to troubling. And in its connection to communication devices of all types, Mercury can show up as partial or complete breakdown of your phone or computer, or basically any medium where messages are being exchanged, for example, via mail or legal documents. I've also noticed that it can get you into the world of household appliances, so that if you just consider communication devices, it will make sense when computer parts fail inexplicably or just due to wear and tear right within the retrograde period to give you the neat correlation. But it might seem less accurate when it's the dishwasher, the toaster, or the fridge, and yet this planet does seem to have a close connection to all things technological, even if the correlation isn't as pure as with the planet Uranus. Something else I've noticed over the years is that it's usually smart to wait on buying such things until the planet goes direct, because if you do, there is a decent chance you'll be changing your mind later and wish you hadn't bought it, though often you can return the item, which then becomes more about time lost than money lost, unless of course you also realize that time does equal money in some sense. On a different topic, if you are involved in something that requires the signing of important documents, then, if at all possible, delay it until Mercury goes direct. But if it's simply too impractical, then at least look extra carefully at what you're signing. My strategy when this planet goes retrograde is to focus on doing research on things that I will then buy or not buy when it goes direct. And I almost always notice that what I was focusing on at the beginning of the retrograde cycle changes by the time it's going direct, which means my purchase is more likely to be successful, although other times I end up not buying the item at all, which is another form of success as well. Another great Mercury retrograde application is to catch up on work that needs to be done but is currently on the back burner. Bring it to the front, and especially when you're targeting some kind of success or release around the point where it goes direct 3 weeks later, the approach becomes excellent. And if you take astrology somewhat or a lot seriously, then focusing on the sign and degrees where it goes retro and then goes direct 3 weeks later can be super important, because whatever part of your chart those degrees fall in and whatever planets are affected can be very relevant. For example, in my recent video about Joe Biden, I mentioned all the different planetary forces affecting him in late September, early October, but I did not mention the retrograde Mercury cycle from September 25th until October 18th. And if you look at his chart, you can see that at the retrograde point, which has it in those degrees for close to a week in late September, Mercury in the 24-25 degree range of Libra is squaring Joe's Jupiter, which tells you he is more than a bit stuck trying to get his message across, in this case to his own party, so that he can get his legislative packages through. It's a square, so lots of work in the phones or whatever other communication channels, but also lots of resistance. Conversely, at the direct station, which happens on the 18th, but is really about a week from mid-month until the 21st or so, Mercury is going direct in the 10-11 degree range, which is much better for Joe, because from there it trines his Saturn and isn't that far away from a sextile to Pluto. In conclusion about Mercury retrograde, it's best to accept the breakdown patterns as grist for the mill, a way of developing patience and resilience, which tend to be great assets toward character development. Don't let this period hold you back. Be strategic about it instead, and in most cases, these periods can then be extra interesting and productive.